Well, here we go, guys. Can you believe it? We're already on to day number 6, or door number 6 of our Crafter's Companion Advent Calendar. It's so lovely to see you popping across once again to see what is behind door number 6 and what we're going to make from door number 6. I hope you've been enjoying the last, previous 5 days that we've done so far. Done a little bit of a little selection of simple and a little bit more intermediate. We've done some stamping and colouring and cutting and embossing, etc, etc. I'm going to put you on mute just for a second. Just in case you were wondering what I was doing just there when it comes to all these videos and these tutorials, that most of you know that I film them in real time and I don't edit them. So what happens is what goes out, what you see. Now that means if I need to go and get a drink, I will go downstairs and get a drink. That means if I colour in something from start to end, you're going to see me doing that from start to end. It also means if I need to ask that certain device to go lower, then I'll put you on mute, and that's because I don't want all of your devices to go off. You know the one that I mean, of course, starting with the A. So just making sure that it was just a little bit quieter than it actually was, only because I know you would quite enjoy the Christmas music in the background. The last thing I want to do is get into this tutorial and then YouTube come along and they can hear that music in the background and they end up muting part of it because of copyright reasons. So that's why we just muted you there for a moment or two. But as I said, it is so nice to see your company. It's so good to see you coming across here again for door number 6 of our Advent calendar that we're away to open up just in a second. Let me just get my calendar from behind me here. As I have been starting with most of these, that is, of course, if you haven't already subscribed here on my Crafter's Companion YouTube channel, please do. You know, now this month, of course, well, up till the 24th, is all about the Advent calendars. But before December, and we're going to continue way after December into next year, I'll be doing lots of generic kind of tutorials with Crafter's Companion products, whether it's past, present, or, you know, occasionally there might be a little bit of a future product that will bring in and give you a little bit of a tease. But as it is, I like to mix and match both old and new, and I know that's what you guys at home absolutely love. So that's what we're going to be doing more of. So by subscribing, that means, of course, you're going to see me coming up on your YouTube when it comes to the subscriptions. Of course, I say subscriptions. Usually we think of it as paid. Doesn't cost you anything. Just make sure that you just subscribe, hit subscribe. But the other thing is, a good thing to do is if you hit that bell notification, instead of just waiting to go on to your YouTube to have a look and then say, oh, Craig's posted a video. If you hit that bell notification for Craig Laird CC, what will happen then is every time I pop up a tutorial, you'll be alerted to say, Craig Laird CC has just popped up a tutorial. So you don't need to do anything other than wait and it will alert you. And then the last thing, you know, if you do like any of these videos, which hopefully you do, certainly the feedback you've given me and in the comments as well, you're absolutely loving them, give me a thumbs up as well, because it does help. Do I know why and how it helps? Not really. I don't know that much of the depth of behind the scenes of all the stuff that goes on when it comes to social platforms, but I do know that it does help. So just asking you guys to help me as well. Much appreciated. But it is about door number 6 of our Crafter's Companion Advent Calendar. So let's do that. Let's delve in to our Advent Calendar so that we can see what exactly is a way to behind, or be behind, door number 6. So let's open it up and see what we've got. You know by now, every single day, I start from scratch by tying it all up and then doing the open. And doing that reveal. That reveal, of course, finding out where is door number 6. We've got number 3. We've had number 5. We've had number 1. We've also had number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Number 4, we can see there. So there's the last 5 that we've now opened up. So this is, of course, now looking for number 6. So is it on the left? Or is it on the right? It is, you think I would remember as well. Here we go. Down here. Down here we've got it. So let's open it up and see what delights we've got inside. Let's open up that foiled front. Let's take that away. And we've got a substantial bouquet floral. Now that one there is our stamp, but then what we've also got is we've also got a thank you stamp But then to go with that, we've got the die. To die cut it out. Now we'll bring in a bit of white cardstock in a second so that we could have a good look at the actual stamp. For this one, this stamp, we are going to stamp and we are going to cut, but I'm going to keep it really quite simple. We're not going to do any colouring. What we are going to do is we're going to do one of my favourite techniques, and that is just simply stamp. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go around. Yes, we're going to cut, but we're going to go around with our ice grey pen. Now, of course, you can do what I'm doing, and then you can then come along and colour if you want to. That's up to yourself. But we are going to do a little box. Now, when you say box, a little token gift, you'll be no surprise, or you will not be surprised to know I'm going to do it to fit a Yankee Candle wax melt. So I'll talk you around how I do the measurements of that, but then it will give you that indication as to how you can work the measurements around whatever it is that you're wanting to make a box for. So we're going to do, just so that you know, that is hand-tied blooms. It was just launched earlier on this year. Was it this year? Yeah, it would have been this year. So it's lovely and it's beautiful. Although I don't melt these sort of ones this time of the year because it's all about Christmas. But we're going to do the box anyway. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to go grey with red when it comes to the box. And then we're going to, of course, size it to fit the wax melt. So therefore, let's dive in. And for the actual box, what we're going to do is we're going to use anthracite from our Centura Pearl. So let's take out, I'm going to need at least 2 full sheets. I've not got enough offcut sizes here. So let's dive in. As always, you know what I'm like. I always like to put all my bits back. I keep all my Centura Pearl all in one pack with the actual strip at the bottom. So we've got our anthracite. The other thing that I'm going to need as well is some red linen. I want a deep red. So, bear with me. I am thinking, I think you can still hear me, yep. I am thinking, let's have a look at one of the reds that we get within Vintage Rose, because it's going to work, you know, I know the colours from Vintage Rose is going to work for anything, but for us, we know it's Vintage Rose collection, it works with the florals, not necessarily rose, but it works with the florals. So let's have a look and see if any of the red tones will work, which they will do, I'm sure. But let's have a look at the stamp. So we've got our floral bouquet stamp that we can see here. And then what we've also got is we've got our thank you stamp. What we'll also do within the box is we're actually going to elongate the actual image of the stamp. So I'm just going to have a wee look first of all when it comes to, yeah, that red's going to work absolutely fine. Yep, let's take, I'll only need maybe, actually, do you know something, I'll probably even only need that. But we'll go through the measurements as we make it. Right, so for the box here, what I'm going to do is let's zoom out so you can kind of get the measurement indication. So for this one here, you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it completely square, although it is, well, it is actually just over 2.5 by just over 2 3/4. I'm going to keep it really simple here, where I'm going to have it, because it's at that 2.5, what we're going to do is it's going to be a 3-inch box, and then we're just going to add our sizes to it. We're going to add the sides to it. So for this, what we're going to do is bring in our guillotine. I'm just going to use my paper trimmer because this is what I've got. So let's go and zoom in a little bit more that we can see here. Let's just zoom in. And then I'm going to go and we're going to cut our cardstock to 5.5 by 5.5 because I want quite a deep box. So let's go in 5.5 by 5.5. In actual fact, I'll probably get this from just the one sheet. Yeah, well, let's do 5.5 by 5.5. Let's go into there, like so. And then the reason that I'm doing it, because it's going to be, as I say, it's going to be a 3-inch box, but what I want is kind of like 1.25 inches at each side. So 3 plus 1 plus 1 plus a quarter plus a quarter, 5.5 by 5.5. So I've got my wax melt. I'm going to go in with my scoreboard now, and we're going to do up to the box lid side. So if we go into the box lid and we're going to score at 1.25 inches, and then we're going to score at 1.25, score at 1.25, and score at 1.25. So that's going to give me my 3-inch by 3-inch. And as I said before, because I want the actual depth of the box to be 1.25 in height, I've got 1.25 plus 1.25, and then obviously I've done the same top and bottom. 3 inches plus 1.25 plus 1.25. That's given me my 5.5 by 5.5. We're going to then do that again onto the box base side, but as I show you and said many times, I find it really hard to score at 1.25 facing up. So I'm just going to turn that around, and I'm going to score still at 1.25 on the box base side, but what I'm doing is I've just turned my scoreboard around, and then that's then making it easier for me to score. What I also want to do is when it comes to the lid, I want the actual lid just to be a little bit shorter. So therefore, now that I've got them both exactly the same, base and lid, I'm just going to trim off about 1/4 inch all the way round. So let's come in. So I'm going to go, so because that's 5.5, I'm going to go 5.25. I'm then going to turn that around on its side and do the same. I'm going to come down to 5.25, and then we're turning that around, and because we're at 5.25, we're coming down to 5-inch down by 5-inch. So that just means we're just going to have that little bit of a lip on the bottom of our box lid. Then we just need to score, or we've scored, we just need to burnish all of our edges. So we're just going to burnish all the way round. And at this point, this is where if you've got little edgeable dies or anything like that that you want to use along the edge of your actual lips, then you can do that. So you just come along and use your dies all the way around. But we're going to go into the box base now. And we're going to fold and burnish. We're going to do the same. We're going to fold and burnish. And then we're just going to come along and fold and burnish. Fold and burnish. And we're just going to make our box in the normal way that we would usually do it. I'm going to turn it on its side because it's easier to see the score lines. So I'm just going to snip down, and I always just rotate kind of clockwise, work our way and snip in and snip in. So that's our base. We're going to do our lid as well. So clockwise, or however way that you do your tabs for your box. Chop in, chop in, chop in, and chop in. And then I'm not going to assemble the lid just yet, because I want to do some layers to it. I've left my glue out overnight, so this is probably going to be dried up, which it has been. Typical Craig, you never learn, never learn. Let's see if I've got my little needle about somewhere. Can't find it, so let's just stick with my tissue tape because it will still do the job. If you've got your red liner tape, of course, going to go around all of the tabs with the tissue tape. I'm going to do it on the box lid as well, but as I say, I'm not going to assemble it just yet. Let's work each of these on with our tape, like that. So let's move that to the side. Let's bring in a pocket. I should really use this one a lot more because it's so nice to use. Let's take that out. I should actually just take them all out and just have them in front of me so I can use it all when I need. And let's go and let's take our backing off. And because it's my tissue tape, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the backing off of it all. You might just want to do section by section. That's entirely up to yourself. If you are taking them all off, just watch the way that the tabs fold in, that they don't stick somewhere that you don't want them to. And then we're just going to cross that one over and press. We're going to cross that one and press. And we're going to cross that one over, press, and then cross over and press. And then that's given us our 3-inch box base with the sides that are 1 1/4 in height. And that should, perfect. Hold that in. What I'm going to do as well, let's just bring in a glue dot. So if you don't want to have that rattling about, what we can do, let's just take all that info off. And put in a glue dot just onto the back. It's just going to keep it held in, stop it rattling about, hold it, there we go. Yep, perfect. Does the job. So that's the box base. We've got the box base. Then let's go onto the lid. So it is 3 by 3 inches by 3 inches. So let's take, actually I'm just going to go, there's no rhyme, no reason as to why I'm chopping and changing between my paper trimmer or the guillotine, but I do find that I do that sometimes. So that was 3 by 3. So what I'm going to do is let's bring in a piece of our white multi-purpose, and I'm going to cut this to 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. So let's go 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And then what I'm going to do with the red is I'm just going to give myself a really, really thin matting layer. So I'm going just over 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And then that's going to give me my really, really thin matting layer, which will go over the place, over the top, and just sit nicely. So I'm keeping this really clean, I'm keeping it simple, even although it's florals, it's got a masculine tone to it because we've got the greys and the reds. And then what we can do is let's take the card, the red linen that I've got, and then let's bring in our low tack tape. And of course I'm still using my washi tape to try and use it up. And then we'll just use our Gemini Mini for this. So let's use that in. And this is kind of like a skeleton layout and design, so to speak, when it comes to the box. This is where you can then come along and then you can then decorate it till your heart's content. You might want to change the colour and not necessarily use the actual anthracite. You might want to use something brighter. You might want to add pattern papers. You might want to colour in the florals, which you can absolutely do. This is just more of kind of a skeleton layout or tutorial. And then we're going to go in with our florals here. I'm going to add my cards. This is still white multi-purpose. Because I'm not doing any colouring with it, I'm just going to keep it with my white multi-purpose. I'm going to use my stamping platform. And I'm going to lay that down. Because this is brand new and I've not used this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to essentially kind of prime it. So I'm just using my translucent clear, my pad's coming away there, using my translucent clear watermark ink pad. So that's just essentially priming the layer. You could give it a clean with your stamping cleaning station if you so wish. Either way works a treat, but I still like to go back to the old-fashioned way of using the translucent clear watermark ink pad. Turning that one around, and then I'm just going to press that round, so that's going to give us a nice crisp clean imagery from that floral, which I'm happy with that. Just while I'm here, let's just dab that excess off, and that's it cleaned, and I can put that one there. So I've done that, which we can cut out just shortly. I'm going to take another piece of card and let's, so what is that? So it's 8 1/4. So let's come down. I want to have this about, do I want it about 1/2 inch? No, I'm going to need it 3/4 inch. So I've got my strip here that's 3/4 inch in height, you can see. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to then cut that to the same as the white layer here, which is 2 3/4. So if I do 2 3/4 and then cut, so that's going to be my strip that I'm going to stamp onto. Once again, that's 2 3/4 by 3/4 inch. I'm going to bring back in my stamping platform, and I should just have enough room to put my discs on into here. Let's have a look. Position. Yep. So what I'm going to do, just so I can kind of get that centered correctly. Yep, happy with that. Let's put the discs back. And then let's put the discs back. Pick it up. Like so. I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to prime it. Like I said, I need to glue this back on because it's falling off. Just some of our glue gel would work fine. In actual fact, if you do find that's happening, I just got my, well, I use the silicone glue. If you use our glue gel, obviously that will work as well. And this is all bunged up at the top. So you should really practice what I preach. I say on air about having no air gap, but then for you guys at home, it just lets you see that I'm just like you as well. I know what I should be doing, but I don't always necessarily do it myself. So let's just make sure I take out all of that dried layer. So I've got a little bit coming out, so that's fine. And then just make sure I stick the right side up. I'm just going to press the back of that down with a lead. And then I'll let that dry. Let me just clean that excess off. Move that to the side. And let that dry. Let's practice what I preach now. And let's push up to the top. So I've got a little bulge just coming out. And then let's put the lid back on. So that's going to create the seal. So it shouldn't happen again. Let's ink up. This is just Noir Black alcohol proof that I'm using. Press that in. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Let's take that excess ink off my stamp. Let's give that a wipe. And that's that done. So let's move that out the way and then move that out the way. The only thing I want to do now, I will need another bit of that red, just a little bit, is to create a matting layer. Now I don't want my matting layer to go right round the edge. I want to stop. I just want the matting layer top and bottom. So because the height of that is 3/4 of an inch, I want that to be just a little bit bigger than 3/4 of an inch. So I'm always looking at the opposite side here, because it's easier to try and gauge like 3/4 of an inch from coming that way. So we're at 8 1/4. So we're bang on 8 1/4. So there's a quarter. There's 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, and then there's the inch. So I'm just going to marry that up. I'm going to come down a little bit because I don't want it quite, I know it's hard to see from the side. I'm just wanting to make sure I've got a little matting layer, which I do. And I'm cutting that to the same, 2 3/4. No, that's 3 3/4, Craig. 2 3/4 is there. Might need to trim a little bit, but we'll have a look in a second. Let's put that on there. Yeah, no, that's going to be fine. That's going to be absolutely fine. So let's take my tape and I'm going to add my tape on there. Let's press that in. It's coming a little bit higher so you can actually see what I'm doing here. Take my tape, peel off, and then matting layer. Now on the sentiment, the thank you, I'm not going to go around, surprisingly, with my ice grey 2 pen. I'm going to keep it clean and crisp as it is. Let me just trim off that edge. So I've got my thank you, my little strip. I've got my stamp. Let's bring in that die. And then what we're then going to do is overlay that one into here. Press that in. Bring in our mini. Bring in our folder. And run that one through. Move it out the way. Bring that in. Press that out, and then I am going to have to see if I can unclog this, because I'm going to need this. Where's my wires? It's very, very, very fine wire that I tend to use for flower forming. I don't know where my actual needle is. So let's declog that. That should be enough. And then for this, we're going to put the glue on the back. We're going to stick it onto our red die cut layer, but we're going to do a bit of a drop shadow. So if I bring that drop shadow down into here, like so. What I should have done actually first is gone around with the ice grey. Never mind, it doesn't really matter, but let's do it now. So all the way round. As I said before, I'm not colouring this, I'm keeping it kind of in that monochromatic look, but with that outline of red. And then you can do the same, or you can colour with your alcohol inks or your water-based mediums. Of course, if you're doing that, use your watercolour card, your waterproof ink pad. Now let's bring all that in and around into all these little bits. Let's bring that in. And then within the last, one of the last videos, a couple of days ago, I used a light blue you know, light blue, that would work as well. I think it was pearl blue that I used. So that would also work instead of the ice grey. If you still want that outline look, that effective look, but don't always want to use a grey, we'll use like a pearl blue, really light blue. And then we're just going to work our way around. And that's all that I'm doing with that. However, if I bring that onto there, and then bring that into there, you lose a fair bit of it. So therefore, what I want to do is I just want to chop it in half. I'm going to go lengthways. You can use your guillotine, of course, or just use your scissors, because you're not going to see those edges. So don't worry if it's not overly neat. But let's add our tape onto our card. I'm going to do the same within my red linen cardstock. So work our way around. I must remember, keep going up. Get that carried away and end up coming down to the bottom of my screen. So let's take the backing off here and here. I should always remember, focus on the middle, Craig. That's how I align my cameras, so that you can see the middle. So there's that one, and then that one. So what we're going to do is I'm going to push that one towards the top, this one towards the bottom, so we're extending it, and then that's going to go right across the middle. So for that, I'm going to use my glue once again. Let's bring in the glue. And add that to the top. I'm going to come down into here and do the same. And that one. And I'm still want to kind of like align it up. Still want to align the top and the bottom up. Then let's bring in the pads. Bring in the foam pad here. That little one will do as well. Let's take that one off and that one off. Let's have a bit of glitter or glue or something. That one we're going to spread right across the middle. So we're not losing much of that image whatsoever. Now that could be, you know, you could punch a hole and that could be a little thank you note for flowers around a gift, or, you know, a gift tag, something like that. But we are going to pop it onto our box. And this would, whereas I was saying before, you might want to change the colour of the box. You know, you might not want that great anthracite look. So therefore, can you imagine doing this within your purples, those sorts of colours, or your pinks, or you could do it within your greens. Whatever you want, you can do. It's going to look gorgeous. And then add as much or as little extra decoration as you want. Now let's peel that off, and that off. Last but by no means least, peel these ones off, and then just going to press all these tabs all the way around, and then I don't want like gems or pearls as such. So what I'm going to do is I've got a little bit of scrap of that red, and I've got like a single little hole punch. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to punch. I'm going to do a load. Probably only need about 6 or something, but let's just do a load. Let's take that out. I've obviously got bits from previous, and then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. I'm then going to come in to a little pickup pencil. So let's just do dot, dot, dot. And this is good to do for mail cards. You know, like for me, If someone gives me a handmade card, I don't mind if it's got gems and pearls on it. I really don't mind at all. But we know that sometimes we've maybe got some of the older generation that aren't necessarily, that's not the same one, that are into that sort of thing. But you want to add a little corner embellishment or something, then just doing little hole punches and using those as a nice little way to add the decoration. And you know what we will do as well? Let's take, I've got a tiny little butterfly that I like to use. It's the most tiniest one. And for this one, let's do red. Let's do a red butterfly, just dotted to the front. If I take this one off here, I'm going to then run that one through. It's giving us an aperture of a butterfly. And then I'm going to go just on top of that floral, just here, little dot glue. I'm going to bend the wings. I'm going to add that on. And that's all that I'm going to do for the lid. I'm going to bring that in so we've got our lid, or we've got our base, we've got our lid, and because we've trimmed off 1/4 of an inch on the lid all the way round, we've got that little lip that we can see here. And then we've got our white, red and grey simplistic box ready for you to replicate, or of course you can then colour till your heart's content. What I'm also going to do as well, because it's a little gift box, I'm going to go in, let's do a couple of glue dots here. I'm going to add one to the inside, so it's here, and then I'm going to do the same onto there. Press that in, open it up, put it on, press it together, and then that just means that it's all as one now. You've got that little gift. The other thing you can do, if you've got tiny little circle dies, before you actually assemble the lid, overlay half the circle onto one side and the other, and that gives you kind of like the little finger grips to be doing. But there we go, a lovely little 3x3 box there that is 1 1/4 inch in thickness. So it's good for one of the newer style Yankee Candle wax melts, or of course the number of things you'll be able to fit into there, or you can change the size if you want and decorate as you so wish. And then there we go. Let's bring that in just for you to see once again. Going in for that kind of monochromatic style, minus the black. Let's bring in, let's just get that tilt edged a little bit. Here we go. There's a nice way to show how to extend it out as well, by just cutting in half and then extending it that little bit more. But there we go, we've got our box. There's a number of things you could put in there. Many different things that you can put in there. So keeping it simple with the stamping and the die cutting, but a lovely way to decorate the top of the box. Split it in half, elongate it with a strip in the middle, and then add in some little hole dots all the way around as well. Nice little addition compared to a gem or a pearl, if maybe you don't necessarily want that. And finishing off with the butterfly. Let's not forget as well our ice grey too. So that was the classic I used. Could be, of course, your tri-blend, it could be your Illustrator, it could be one of the greys from your aqua pens, it could be any of them, or of course you can use some light blues if you want, or not do it at all. It's entirely up to yourself. But there we go. That is it. That is our project from door number 6 of our Crafter's Companion Advent Calendar this year. So just like the previous 5, I hope you really enjoyed that one. I can't wait to see what you do, whether you do exactly as to what I've done, or maybe you're just going to go big and bold and elaborate. Maybe you will do what I've done, but then you're going to colour it. Whatever it is, it's going to be so good to see. Always remember, it's always nice to see. If you are posting them on social, please feel free to tag me. It's always nice to see and see what you're doing, if you are doing it different or doing it exactly the same. But that is it. That's the project from door number 6, which then means when we come back tomorrow, we're then going to be opening door number 7. We're going to see what's behind that door, and we're going to get creative with that one as well. So until tomorrow, I will see you for door number 7 of our Crafters Companion Advent Calendar. Have a lovely rest of the day or evening, whatever the time it is, wherever you are watching across the globe. But we'll see you tomorrow for door number 7. We'll see you then. Bye.